I wanted to make a video about homeschooling in South Carolina and go over a little bit more of what Option 3 homeschoolers are required by law to do and then what is not required by law. The first requirement is the parent or guardian must have a high school diploma or a GED. The second requirement is having 180 learning days or instructional days, and having more is fine. The 180 is just a minimum. And then there's 5 subject areas that are required to be covered for all South Carolina homeschooling families under Option 3. This is from kindergarten all the way through high school. So the first one is reading. For grades 7 through 12, that just changed to literature instead of reading. And then writing, which again changes at 7th grade. Instead of writing, we now call it composition. And then math, science, and social studies. Those are the 5 subject areas, and the reading, writing, literature, composition can also fall under the umbrella of language arts in your documentation. That's fine. You could just put that instead of separating them. Now, with the documentation, there is a few different records that are required. So the first one is some form of lesson plan, journal, diary. The format is up to you. It's basically just an overview of what you covered during those 180 learning days. In that, it can be as detailed or as simple as you want. It could be daily, it could be weekly, it could be monthly. It's very flexible on how it has to be. The law doesn't specifically say how they want it. The next one is having some work samples. So the law, again, does not specify how many work samples. So I usually say to do between 3 and 5 work samples per subject area per year. And that's usually just the beginning, middle, and the end. Some worksheets, something that shows that your child is learning, that there's growth in their learning. It could be pictures. It can be just, it's very flexible of what it can be. And then the last thing is the semi-annual report with a copy of the attendance. So the attendance can be, again, as simple or as detailed as you want. My attendance is just an Excel spreadsheet with every single date in all the months. I do usually from June to July. It gives us more than 180 days, but the 180 days is a minimum, so it's okay. And I just check it off. That's it. And I include that in the PDF planner as well for homeschooling families that are my members, just to help them with their record keeping. And then the semi-annual report itself can be as detailed or as simple as you would like. So with homeschoolers, you are not required to give grades, but some families do, especially if they use a curriculum. So the semi-annual report could be grades, like a progress report or a quarterly report card, like the public schools do it. It can also be just a summary of what your child has mastered, maybe some areas they have not mastered, they're struggling with. Mine is more of a paragraph form with what we've covered, what my child has mastered, and then areas he struggles. So we hit 90 days back in October, and I wrote what my one son has mastered. He's mastered addition and subtraction with any string of digits, but he struggles with money. So I put that. And then my other son, I did his a little bit different, and I just did what we went over, what field trips we took. I didn't really say he mastered or didn't master anything. I just did an overview of what we did cover. It is not uncommon for homeschoolers to have mastered all topic areas that you've covered. You are not going to move on to the next topic until your child has mastered a topic that you went over previously. That's different than public school. Public school can't ensure that all students have mastered a topic before moving on. But in homeschooling, you can. So you can put mastered all topics, list the topics, an overview. It's very flexible. There's no specific format that's required. So going back to those 180 learning days, I get asked a lot what counts as a learning day or an instructional day. And all learning counts under Option 3. So if you are going to take a field trip, you can put all sit-down structured work aside And for your documentation for that day, you can just put field trip, and you could put the destination, where you went, what subjects you covered at that field trip. Like, we went to Charlestown Landing a couple weeks ago, and I put field trip, Charlestown Landing, and it covered history or social studies and science. And that's just how I documented it. I could have put just field trip and Charlestown. I could have just put field trip. It's very flexible. Another question I get asked is high school. What changes when we get to our freshman year of high school? And the answer is nothing. The law does not get rewritten. The law does not change. The law stays saying what it says. You can legally cover those 180 days, those 5 subject areas. The literature and composition can just fall under English language arts, and then science, social studies, and math. And if you cover that, you're compliant with South Carolina Code of Law. So it doesn't legally change. The law does not get rewritten in high school. There are some things to consider when you get to high school level, but I'm going to go over that more in depth in another video. I do have it up on our blog and our website, more in-depth explanation, and that misinformation that's out there of how the law does change, but it doesn't. The law is written the way it is. It doesn't change. And it's for grades kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. So I'm going to be doing a couple of these videos explaining more of the law and different subject areas more in depth. Some of the topics I have in mind are unschooling and how that works, transcripts, and how the law doesn't require it, but some colleges may in the future. I know that for me personally, I've never had a job ask for a copy of my high school diploma, but I have had them ask for a copy of my high school transcript. The law does not say you need one, but sometimes jobs, colleges, they do require them for incoming freshmen. So I'm going to go over that a little bit more. Another topic that's at the top of my list is how, when we get to high school, can real life learning and in-person learning, job shadowing, how can we do these things and have real life learning experiences and document those under homeschooling laws, and how can it count as a learning experience and cover that learning day or those learning days that can still keep you compliant. Also, different opportunities to outsource the education. I have a whole lot of different topics I want to cover. There's a lot of misinformation out there, just on high school and what's required. And one thing I want to mention too is the law does not state that you need to complete X amount of hours per day for it to count as a learning day. That's another one I see a lot mentioned. You could do one subject a day and be compliant, or you can do all 5 if you wanted. You don't have to do all 5 though. You do not have to do school for a certain amount of hours. Homeschooling does not have to look like school at home or public school at home at your kitchen table. So I'm going to be posting more videos in the future. If you have a topic that you would like discussed a little bit more regarding homeschool, or even transitioning to public or from public to homeschool, please comment and suggest it. You could also reach out to me via email or my Facebook, and I'm happy to help. Thanks.